him in the interview, and it's like, do you wear wigs? It's like, no, I do not. Will you wear wigs?
Have you worn wigs?
When will you wear wigs? So I thought that was a really good way to know people this is a wig panel. So, okay. We're just gonna go ahead and get started. More people will come in. They'll come in. They might announce it over the thing. Okay, so I'm Cynthia Eve Cosplay.
I'm Lily, or cheddar.moth.
And I'm Marshmallow Bat.
Yeah. So just a little bit of background on us. We've all been cosplaying since 2017. I started kind of getting more into like building cosplays and everything around 2020.
I've had a decent amount of experience with wig styling. I've been really into cosplay since high school, so I have a good amount of expertise.
I just love dressing up, and then I realized you would cosplay, and I did a lot of costuming in high school, so I have a sewing background. So that's my main builds is usually sewing.
And I style wigs I work for like a princess party company, and I do the wigs for them as well. So, okay, so a little bit just like a little bit of like an outline of what we're doing today. We're gonna start off on like where you should be buying wigs from, what makes a good quality wig versus a bad quality wig. If you do get a bad quality wig, kind of how you can fix it up. And then we're gonna move on to tools of wig styling, and then kind of go more into like how to kind of do more of like extreme styles. So like what you might see here, you know, how to put curls in a wig, how to make wigs stay, things like that. And we'll have question time at the end, but if there is ever a point during the panel which you have a question, feel free to raise your hand, ask away. Okay, so starting off, where to get wigs from. I just recently, so I'd say the biggest wig seller that a lot of people get their wigs from is Arta Wigs. Arta Wigs is also very expensive, so I understand not everyone can get wigs there. I just recently started buying wigs from there. I know Lily has bought many wigs from there.
This is also an Arta wig. I usually buy Arta wigs for crazier designs just because I know they're well wefted, so they'll be thick. It's not going to show like the netting or anything. So if you want like a really thick, good quality wig, Arta is a really good place to go.
Yeah, so if you didn't know, like the wefts in a wig, like a weft is like the, like
A strip
Yeah.
with like single hairs
Yeah.
falling from it.
Yeah, and then
So
a wig,
if you turn a wig inside out, all the little like lines and rows, that's where all the little hairs are like individually like stuck in there.
yeah, so that's a weft. So sometimes if you were to get like a wig off Amazon and it ends up not, like I know some people end up buying, like they'll get two of one wig off Amazon and then they'll just combine it into one wig by like breaking apart all of the wefts and then sewing them back together into like one wig, so that way it's really thick. And so, but I feel like it really just depends how much the wig costs. If you just paid $20 for a wig to do that, you could have just spent $10 more and got a wig that was already like that. Save some time. Yeah, so Arta wigs are expensive, but they're going to be really thick, which is really good for styling. And it's also really going to hide the wefts in the back, because like, so, you know, when you put a wig on, it really stretches out in the back, because that's where you put your hair and everything. And so whenever you buy like a cheap wig, you normally do see those wefts more, and it just kind of like, it just gets rid of the illusion that that's your hair. Whereas, you know, if you get something that's like really thick, it's going to hide that. So Arta's going to have more of those thick wigs, but I have actually bought all of my wigs off Amazon up until this one. And so my opinion for buying wigs off Amazon or buying wigs from anywhere, really just look at their reviews, see what it looks like on other people, see what they've used it for and things like that. If you're wearing a hat or if your character has like a hood or something like that, it doesn't really matter, I guess, if, you know, if the wigs are not very thick. But like if it's like a really big style or if you have something, you could also take a one wig and use it as like your base, and then buy a second wig and use it for like, so like for this, you know, she could have bought one wig for like the main base and then bought another wig to, you know, add in all of like the extra stuff. So that's always an option too. But I would say definitely look at reviews. Just see what you're buying first.
I bought a wig off Amazon and I didn't look at the reviews, and it came with a piece of gum in it because it had been returned. So I had to go through and clean it and brush it and all of that. But this wig up here is actually from Amazon, and the reviews were really good for it. All the pictures I saw were great for it. So it's a toss-up, but I definitely read the reviews. Do not make the same mistake I did.
Yeah, I kind of wish we should have just bought like another one of that wig, because if you've seen the before of that one, that is definitely a mighty improvement.
About to say, it amplified my cosplay 100%. Something as simple as just putting the curls in and throwing some flowers into it really made the cosplay pop. If you go to Marshall About on Instagram, you can find a before and after of the cosplay, and it did change every aspect of it.
Okay, so that's kind of where you should be getting wigs from. You can get wigs from anywhere. I know there's also a million different YouTube videos out there on how to turn like a cheap wig into a nice looking wig. Drag queens are like the saviors of wigs. So if you ever need advice, just go watch a drag queen's YouTube video, because it's going to tell you everything you need to know. I've seen drag queens, take Party City wigs and turn it into something that looks like it would cost $100 to go buy. So,
and just because you're making something for cosplay does not mean you have to find a cosplay tutorial or something that goes along with those lines. You can use any kind of tutorial really, and it's still use it for your own purposes. And
yeah. Okay, so then moving on, there's two different kinds of wigs. There's hard front wigs and there's lace front wigs. So a hard front wig, you can always tell because the lace front wigs have the actual like wig part is going to stop about here, and then from there on it's going to be lace. And so then there's like individual hairs tied to the lace, and so if your character wears a ponytail or doesn't have bangs to hide the front of the wig, that's what a lace front's for. So it makes it so that it blends more seamlessly into your hairline to make it look like it's actually coming from your head. Whereas a lot of like cheaper wigs that you'll find are a hard front, which just means like the hair just kind of stops here.
There's like a little plastic scalp.
Yeah,
see the end of it.
and it will kind of almost like be like rolled over, so it's even like more noticeable. I don't have it at my booth or anything, but I have taken a wig before, and you can like unpick the front of the wig and like kind of cut it a little bit with like a seam ripper. There's tutorials on YouTube on how to do it, and it will kind of, instead of it being folded over, you can unfold it, and it does make it a little flatter. So, and then I know there's also probably tutorials on there on how to sew like lace into a wig if you do want to make it into a lace front, but that's a lot of work. So I think you're better off just buying a lace front at that point. Any thoughts on that?
Speaking of which, if you want like a character that has like a ponytail hairline, probably buy a wig that specifically has the ponytail hairline or pigtail hairline, like the separation in the back. Because I took an Amazon wig once and I had to add the hairline myself, and that was kind of a pain because I had to sew all the wefts in individually. So just buy the wig you think for the specific design you're going for. My advice on that.
Okay, also, now that we're kind of getting to this, can everyone hear okay? Like everyone in the back? Okay, cool. Just want to make sure.
Good.
Okay, so that's kind of the basics of things. So kind of moving on into like, any questions on that so far? Just before we move on. Okay, cool. So now kind of get into more of the tools of styling. I was going to bring stuff today and I didn't. So wigs are not your hair. So like using regular hairspray on a wig it can work, but it most likely is not going to work. Using a regular curling iron, you can, but you have to really be careful on the amount of heat you're going to use. Kind of like your own hair, like wig synthetic fibers can burn if you use too much heat, but they can take more heat than your normal hair.
I've never had a wig burn and I've turned it up pretty high, but maybe don't listen to that second advice.
It's more not so that it's gonna burn, it's gonna melt.
Yeah,
And it's gonna be harder to undo what you've done.
Yeah.
So if you style it a certain way and you realize, oh, I don't like how this looks, and you go to try to undo it, it's gonna be more of a pain because now you're like, okay, well, they're all melted together and melted in this weird area.
Yeah.
So-
I've seen wigs before where someone will go into an expensive wig and they'll start like crimping it, which we'll get into later. But like the crimping heat will just be turned up too high and they melt the wig fibers, and then you can't really go back once you've done that. So, but I mean, if you do one little section, you know, it's easy to hide.
You'll always do a tester section and a back and a bottom layer.
Yeah, like you will know if you melt it. So, yeah, okay, so that's on that. Okay, so there's a hairspray out there that a lot of cosplayers use, a lot of people that work with Wigs use, called Got To Be. You can find it at Walmart, you can find it online. It comes in a yellow can. I think it says like plastic hairspray. It says something like that on it.
It says, I think, that and a couple other things, but you can also find it at beauty supply stores. A lot of people use it for a lot of different reasons. And you can use it on your natural hair as well. That's just like if you want it to stick for a really long time.
Yeah, it is, I feel like, different than regular hairspray. So what you'll do for like extreme wig styling, and Haley can kind of go into this more than I can. A lot of people use Got To Be, and what you'll do is you'll spray it, and then you can, if you use a hair dryer immediately after you spray it, it will like, what's it called? Like harden? Not harden, but it will like, yeah, it will like cool down quickly, and then it will maintain that shape. So like a lot of how I did these, they're not perfect by any means, but just how to start off getting that shape was just by, I crimped it, which I said we'll get into in a moment. And then I sprayed it and I took a hair dryer to it, and that's kind of how you're gonna get it to stay in these shapes. So
That's how all my accoutrements poking out are from. It's just hairspray. Well, I crimped it and then hairspray, and then I just applied heat to it so it stays in the curved shape I wanted it to be in.
That's how I got my curls to stay in this wig, because this wig was originally straight hair, and I just curled it. We'll get into that momentarily, but then I sprayed so much Got To Be, and just kind of held it in place, let it dry, and used the hair dryer as well.
okay, so as far as crimping goes, so with synthetic wigs, the fibers, since they are synthetic, if you heat them up, they're going to stay like in that shape. So a lot of people will take a wig and they'll crimp it using like, not like the big wave crimpers, but like the really small.
Think
like,
80s crimper.
Yeah. So what that does, it texturizes the wig fibers. You can either crimp it, or if you don't have a crimper, you can tease the hair, and then you'll take a straight iron and you'll heat up the wig fibers while it's teased, and then you'll brush them out, and that will also give you that texture. So what that does is, you know, on wigs where you kind of see that it's like really fluffy, that's what they've done to kind of get rid of that like straightness.
It gives it more of a natural look than if you just take a wig out of the bag and put it on. It just makes it look like it's like a natural thing that's grown. It's not so perfect.
Yeah, and also that's what's going to give you that structure if you're going to style it. Having that texture is going to, you know, if you're trying to get spikes or anything like that, you need to have some kind of texture first, or else it's just not going to give you the shape that you want. So that's kind of how you get those 3D shapes. Yeah, so yeah. Any questions about any of that? Cool. Okay, so moving on to how to curl a wig. So there's a lot of different tools you can use with wigs, but also a lot of different tools cost a lot of money. So a thing that I would recommend is a steamer. I just recently started using a steamer on wigs. So a steamer, if you, let's say you crimp the fibers and then you go back later and you're like, oh, I kind of wish I hadn't crimped this section, like now it kind of looks frizzy. You can take a steamer and you can steam those fibers, and it's gonna kind of get rid of that frizziness. So kind of like on the bangs here, I crimped it and it was really fluffy, but then I took the very top layer of the hair and I steamed it so that whenever I laid it over, it kind of gave more of like that, like sleek look. I just made it look more neat. And then that also goes into, Helen can go into the curling process, but you can use like a curling iron for curls. Using the steamers should probably make them stay better, but and maybe give you more of like the ringlets you want. But I've seen plenty of people use just a regular curling iron on a really high setting. So yeah, Helen can go into more of the curling process.
I knew that I wanted to give my wig a curl so with more volume to it, looked a little more alive than what it originally was. So I looked at different tutorials, I found one that I really enjoyed, and I was too scared to use a curling iron on this wig, just because I am accident prone and I could see myself putting it on too high of a setting. So what I did is I brushed it out. When you brush out a wig, you want to start from the bottom and slowly work your way up, instead of how we brush our hair from top to bottom, it's bottom to top. You can ruin a wig if you start from the top and just go straight down. I've done that a couple times. But you go through, and after you've it all brushed out, you're gonna find the the little strip of hair.
Yeah,
that has-
that's the one.
Okay, you're gonna find your weft, and you're gonna start at the bottom and kind of pin all the other hairs back. I use foam curlers on mine, and
I've also seen people use mesh rollers.
yeah, you want something that's not going to be a metal or something that will get stuck into the wig too much. So I used a foam curler, curled the way I needed it to be, and held it in place. And kind of went through and did it to all of my curls. So I went through every single layer. And once that was done, I had the head of it on a paper towel roll because I don't have a wig stand. And I steamed it all with the steamer up close. And then to really make sure that these curls stayed defined after I kind of just held the steamer in place, I took an insulated shopping bag, so like something you can use for like Whole Foods, put it on the top of it, and just held the steamer underneath it, and filled it with steam and let it sit there for about 10 to 15 minutes just to really let the stuff set in. And then I let it sit and dry overnight. After that, I took all the curls out and I had to go through and style, but my curls were very defined, like ringlet curls at that point. So I just had to go through, brush them out, kind of tease them out a little bit to get the volume I wanted, and then use that Gotta Be and sprayed very heavily into it.
Yeah, and the reason you want to let it sit overnight or sit for an extended period of time is really to let those wig fibers cool down, like each one cool down completely, and then before you take it out, because that's really what's going to help maintain that shape. And then also going off that, the reason, so you're going to steam them individually, but then once you put the bag over it to steam it again, it's just to make sure that the whole wig is getting heated up. Steaming them individually is more so to just make sure that each curl is getting the right amount of heat, but just making sure that the whole wig is getting heated at the end, and then letting it sit.
Be prepared to burn your fingers because steam is not something you can fully control. So the number of times that I passed it over like the wig section or I put my hand too close to it and I got a bit of a steam burn on my fingers. I mean, if you're working with heat, you're gonna get burned at some point. But just be prepared. Steam is one of those
Something
things.
that I do when I'm doing it is I'll like take the curler, I'll take my steamer, and I'll take kitchen tongs, and I'll like take the curl with the kitchen tongs, and I'll steam it with those, so that way I don't get burned. But there has been times where I like go to touch the wig after I've just steamed it, and then I'll be like, oh, it's hot because you know heat.
The other thing I did to make sure my curls stayed really tight and close to the head of my wig is I took sewing needles and just pushed it through the foam curler. That's the reason why I recommend foam curlers is just because or mesh, is you can push the sewing needles through your curler and hold the curls to the head of the wig.
Yeah. Something I would recommend, you can find these on Amazon. They're these, it's kind of hard to see. It's like these like giant wig pins with these really big tops. For a while I just used sewing pins, but these are really good if you want to like hold something back, make sure something stays styled after you finish styling it. Like if you're going to store it long term, just making sure it keeps that shape. Another thing I've seen a lot of wig people do, I've yet to try it, but I bought the supplies for it, using hair nets. So like whenever I've seen, so like I said, I do like princess party wigs, so a lot of people that do like Cinderella wigs, there's like a bun, and they'll take, they'll curl the whole bun, they'll style the bun, and then they'll take a hairnet and they'll put the hairnet just over the bun so that the bun style stays longer or it stays in that shape for a longer amount of time instead of, the wig like constantly kind of being put against the elements. It kind of has something, it's gonna help it maintain that shape. So, and same thing with like Rapunzel wigs, people will take like mesh tulle, or even just braids in general, and they'll encase the whole braid in tulle, and then like either like sew it and then stick it to stick it with pins, and that just helps the braid not get tangled, and you're not having to re-braid every single time you wear it, especially if you're going to a con for like 8 hours all weekend, any questions so far?
Do they take the hairnet off or just keep it on?
No, so what you do is you're gonna like find a hairnet that's the same color. So like I would use like a blonde light hairnet. They have brown hairnets, and so once you get far away, same with like the mesh netting or whatever, the tulle. If you're gonna get it like the same color that your hair is, so that in photos from far away, from close up, it's hard to see. So yeah.
Hairnets are also a good way to store and travel with wigs if you want to cover them in that. I didn't have a hairnet with me, so I put mine just draw into the bag, so I'll freestyle it when I get home. But that's usually how I try to travel with a wig, is I'll put a hairnet over it, just make sure it doesn't get too tangled.
Yeah, I'll do that when I'm storing them too. Like the bottom of this wig is like really, really long. And eventually I'm going to curl this, but for now, you know, I do try and keep it like in a net when it's at home, because I know it's not going to get tangled just sitting around, but it just, I guess, gives me more peace of mind to know that, you know, I'm doing something. Yeah. I know this is kind of is related to wig styling, is not. Just a little tip for anyone who has long hair. Looking at different tutorials on how to put your hair in like in a wig cap. I always get questions about this a lot of like, if I have short hair now, but I used to have long hair. Do like 2 braids and then like loop the braids so that they're really tight against your head. That's another thing with wigs, is like you want to make sure that the wig doesn't look like it's sitting up too far off your head, or else it's like not gonna look natural. And that'll also help like with the back of the wig, like with the wefts not showing. I don't have any in my wig or on me. Okay, so with wigs, you can use bobby pins, but a lot of people use these things called wig pins. If you look up a wig pin they're also like U pins. You look them up on Amazon, you can find them. It's almost like someone took a bobby pin and just like stretched it out a little bit. So when you look at them, you're gonna think, oh, that will never hold my hair. It's more so to make sure you can like hold it really helps the wig stay, like if you like stick it into like the wig, because it will like help like stay through the wefts, and then kind of stick it through your wig cap. It helps the wig stay on your head a lot better, rather than just bobby pinning the outside of your wig. You can kind of bobby pin the middle of it too. I've done that. Like yesterday I was Sophie, and I had a hat, and I stuck the pins through the hat, and then I stuck them, like it stuck through the hat, through the wig, and then into my wig cap.
The length and size is meant to hold both your hair and the wig. That's why it has like the wider middle part and it's a longer bobby pin. Because you want to catch not only your own hair, like the wig, your own hair, but if you have braids in, you want to make sure it gets into the braided part of your hair so it really locks in.
Yeah, and that's when people like do the braid thing specifically, so that you have kind of an anchor whenever you are pinning that wig to your head, because you know, something like that kind of wig, there's not really a whole lot of like weight in one specific area. No, it's okay. So you can see pictures of my booth. I have this Artemis cosplay, and for that wig, it's a ponytail. And so the weight obviously is in one part of my head, and so having, you know, anchors all around my head was definitely really helpful to make sure it's not just sliding back all day. And I should have brought that wig, but I'm going into that one a little bit. So if you ever do find yourself with a hard front wig, you can do this thing called a glued hairline. And so what you're gonna do with that, and it is a little bit like I've made a glued hairline, but there's things I would do differently with it. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna take your wig, I bought an Amazon wig, and you're gonna cut all of the wefts off. Like you're gonna literally chop the whole thing until like someone shaved the wig down. So now you have all these wefts, and then what you're gonna do is there's this glue you can buy. It's called tacky glue. I know there's other glues out there too. And you can take the individual weft and you'll like put glue on the end of it, and you're gonna like make it into its own thing, and you're gonna let that dry. And then what I did for that one is a ponytail, and so it's like if you do any kind of updo, it's immediately gonna make it harder to like, because it's gonna want to like go inward when you put it on your head. And so if you are styling it, you're gonna want to like really stretch it out to make sure that whatever you're gluing it, you're not making it too small for your head. So I stretched out the wig, like the wig cap part, and then I glued from, like I took the new weft and I glued it at the bottom and then put it up into the ponytail. And I just did that until it was in a ponytail. there are other things you can buy, like batting at Joann's, and you can glue the batting down to kind of give you more of like a, I don't know.
Yeah, I would also recommend measuring your head first. What I did for one of mine is I took saran wrap and I literally just put saran wrap around my entire head and put duct tape over it, and then I took a Sharpie and drew out where like my ears and where my actual hairline is. That way when you use that on your wig head, you'll be able to account for where your ears need to go and where your actual like real hairline is, so that everything is covered and it fits properly around your ears. So that's one helpful way, so it's not like improperly fitted.
Yeah. Going off that, if you go and you're trying to style a wig on just like this woman wig head, the woman wig heads are very small and are not like a good determination of an actual person's head size. So I'd recommend getting like the male looking wig heads, or something I also got off Amazon. You can buy these canvas wig heads. So it's like it's a wig head that's going to be around the size of your actual head. And it's made out of canvas material, so you can stick stuff into it really well. And mine has like a little clamp at the bottom, so I can clamp it to a counter instead of having to like shove a wig into a paper towel holder, which also
It
works.
still worked.
Yeah, I've seen
Or
people.
buy a wig stand.
Yeah, buy a wig stand. You can be like, some people like they have like tripods you can like kind of stick it on. But I've seen people do it all kinds of ways. There's a girl I follow on Instagram. She took her wig head and she duct taped it. She duct taped it to like the bottom of like a mannequin. That works for her. Lily stuck a wig head on a chair
I
before.
used my chair for years and my mom got mad at me, so yeah, we don't talk about that.
Yeah, I used the paper towel roll and I sprayed "Gotta Be" on the wig and it got all over the paper towel roll. So next time I put paper towels on it, it was like weirdly, there's a texture to it. My mom's like, "What did you do?" I'm like, "Cosplay."
Yeah, and if you do get got to be on stuff, if you just wipe it down, like I normally style this in like the kitchen area because there's a lot of room. If you just like wipe down the counter afterward, it's fine. But you probably should wipe it down because like, you know, it is
It'll be
hairspray.
there.
Yeah. So, yeah. Okay. Any questions about wigs that you all would like to know? Yes.
Is there anything you would recommend, and maybe there isn't, but whenever I usually wear wigs, I get like tension headaches. Is there anything you would recommend that would maybe make that a little better?
I've been wearing wigs for years and I still get headaches. My recommendation, especially if you're wearing like a heavy wig, maybe put like, if this is like a style that has a lot of wire and stuff in it, put like foam under the cap or on the inside of the wig just so it's more like softer on your head. But overall, I think it's just something that happens from wearing a wig for
Yeah.
a while.
In the bottom, like in the back of the wig, I don't know if there's always those clip things, and you can adjust like how tight the wig is around with those clips. So you know you can always adjust that to make sure it's a little looser on your head, but also just taking breaks. Like it, you know, it really depends on the weight of your wig and everything. There's one time I wore a Rapunzel wig for like 3 hours, and like that thing's heavy. And you know, an hour and a half in, I felt like I was gonna throw up from like a tension headache, and I literally had to take like 4 different Advils. So, but just make sure you take breaks. I've seen people that like the wig will be so tight on your head, it's like cutting off circulation to your brain, which is why you like start to feel bad. Or some people like feel like they're gonna pass out. So just making sure you're taking breaks and drinking water.
I've also seen there's like wig bands.
Oh yeah.
You can buy, so like if you have shorter hair or you have finer hair, you don't have something for the wig pins to hold on to, you can get a wig band, which is basically you put your hair in the wig cap, put the wig band over the wig cap, and then you can put bobby pins and the wig on top of that. And that can help kind of, I believe, relieve some of that tension,
Yeah.
but also just water, breaks, and painkillers.
That also, it helps the wig stay on your, I don't know what to say, it helps the wig stay on your head better. Because the ones you can buy, it's like almost this like felt-ish material, and it helps the wig like, and some of them have like grips on them too, it helps the wig like grip to your head. We did a skit performance this last summer.
You can find it on her YouTube.
You know, but I know Helen bought like one of those headbands specifically because we were like dancing on stage and we didn't want like to do a turn and then the wig fall off in the middle of the performance. So I know a lot of people use it for that, but it's also just good in general just to keep the wig from sliding back because like that's always my fear when I wear wigs, and I always have to be like, hey, can you like make sure my wig's not like, you know, my head's here and the wig's like all the way back here, you know? So that was a good question. Thank you. Any other questions? Cool. Okay, so now we're gonna move into the portion of Lily explaining how she made this wonderful wig. If you want to stand up and turn around.
Okay, I'll do a 360. So I really like to make crazy designs. So I'll just do a
On her Instagram at cheddar.moth, you can see her Nurse Joy for Pokemon that
It's
has two
phenomenal.
big circles in the back. Like it's like these circle pigtails. Very impressive. Okay,
It also hurts my head, so I recommend also for like wig comfort, get a good quality wig. Because if you try to do a design with like an Amazon wig, it'll probably hurt your head more. So anyways, so this was an Arta wig. It used to be all black, and I bought individual like wefting strands that Arta sells like a pack of just the wefts.
yeah, they're like
And
$10.
Yeah, and I individually added all the color into this wig. The front part is just, I think I used Elmer's glue for the front. It's kind of hard, but that's how it's like kept together. It's just glue, and I glued it all down. Some of the other stuff I sewed in, so you can glue it and you can sew it. If you want the wefts to stay in better, I recommend definitely sewing it, because the glue can sometimes come out. Do
Yeah.
not use hot glue.
Yeah, if
I
you
know
use
it's tempting.
hot glue
Yeah.
doesn't stretch at all, and you obviously need a wig to stretch over your head. So, and also hot glue's it's harder to hide. So I had a wig one time where I added wefts in, like just two wefts in the front, and I used hot glue, and I really regretted using that because it made it really hard to hide the hot glue in the front, and it was just really, really noticeable.
Hot glue also likes to do this fun thing where it like pills, kind of. So if you like try to brush it through, there's just chunks of hot glue just falling off everywhere. So I used Elmer's glue. Yeah.
Sorry. Another thing with hot glue, hot glue gets activated when it's hot. If you're wearing a really big wig and your head gets really hot, there is a chance that hot glue is going to come apart and not be holding it. So that's another reason don't use hot glue.
It can also come apart when you're heating the rest of the hair to style it, since there's heat being applied. But the glue I like to use now, you can use Elmer glue, you can use tacky glue. I've been using this glue, it's like UHU glue. I got off of Amazon. I know a lot of wig people use it. It's clear, so when it dries, you won't really be able to see much of where it is. For the big cones on my head, I bought just like these 2 craft cones from Walmart, and I shaved them down to the shape I wanted. And there's 2 wires in them. You can get it off of Amazon too. It's thick enough that it'll stay really well, but I can cut it with scissors still. And those are just inside of the wig and kind of wrapped around, connected to like if this is the wire, it's like sitting like this, so that if it pulls up, it's just pulling on the wig. It's not gonna like come apart. And then I also added glue to like glue them down better. And there's foam under the wires on my head, just so it doesn't like hurt my head as much. But I basically just grabbed the wefts and I glued the wefts in the pattern, and then I added hairspray and all of it, and it's been holding pretty well. Just for like the spikes and stuff, I crimped it and then I applied steam on it just to help get some of the frizz down. I didn't do it on all of it, so some of it is still a little bit frizzy. But once I did that, once I crimped all of it, I would just hold it with my hands and I applied hairspray, and then as I took a hairdryer and put it on the wig, and I kind of just shaped it while I had the hairdryer, just so you're kind of smoothing the wax out and you're also getting the shape you want. And I just did that for all the spikes.
Yeah. Do you want to go into like making a wig structure? Like using wire and batting and tape and all that?
Yeah, so if you're making a wig structure, definitely use quilting batting and use wire.
Okay. A wig structure is like, I don't really know if you can explain it better than me. It's like when you have a wig, like, okay, for instance, the Nurse Joy one, where it's like these giant circle pigtails. There just isn't a way, I mean, maybe there is, but it's really getting really difficult to get a wig to go in that 3D shape. A wig structure helps your wig go in that 3D shape. So what you do with a wig structure is you take, like, she's done it with, you can do it with batting. I mean, you can heat the batting up, and it, like, the batting like melts. Or you can use wire and tape, and then you take your wig wefts and you like glue them to it. I don't know, you can go to more, but
Or you can use foam. The first understructure I did, I used foam. I don't really wear that wig anymore because it was also my first attempt. But you can also like get foam and wire and take the wire and glue some foam pieces over it, and then glue that under into the wig, and then apply the hair that way. For my Nurse Joy wig, I basically took 2 wires. I attached them inside the wig, but I did it in a way so that the weight is evenly and distributed over all of it, because you don't want 2 giant circles just like hanging in the back, because then it could like pull your wig off. So So when you're making the structure, you want the wires to be like in an intersection kind of in the wig, just so the weight is distributed. And I just had the wire poke out the back, and I made the circle, and then I glued batting over all of it, and that kind of just has the basic structure. And then I would just add the wefts all over it with glue.
If you really want to see some crazy wigs, look up like wig cages on like Instagram and stuff like that. People use those for like crazy like Marie Antoinette wigs where it's like a bunch of like hair up the top, piled to the top of your head. So like what you're seeing, the inside's actually hollow and you're just seeing hair on the outside.
I've worn like wigs like that for productions, and it's basically like you're wearing a tight hat.
Yeah.
It sits really tightly into your head, but the inside again is hollow. I could have like put snacks in there or something, but I didn't want to risk it.
And I've seen a lot of people too when it comes to like glued hairlines and stuff like that. They will say like you're practically making, it's not really a wig anymore. You're practically making like a helmet. And like the helmet that's never ever going to move or falter, you know, because the majority of it is glue. And here's right. Okay, well that was like a lot of wig information. Anything you think we didn't cover that you would like to know about? Yes. No, you 100%. You 100% can.
You can buy from Amazon.
Yeah.
My wig here is from Amazon.
Yeah.
All we recommend is that you read the reviews, read the reviews, read the reviews. About to say, you can definitely. I just styled this one. No, we're not saying don't buy a wig from Amazon.
Yeah,
We're just saying
every
you
single
do.
wig I've ever worn is from Amazon.
But
This
also,
is the first Arda wig I've ever bought.
expect that you're getting an Amazon wig. Expect that you're not gonna get like top quality, like this kind of like wig. No, you're gonna get that synthetic, that like kind of shiny. It's gonna not be as thick kind of wig. Just be prepared for what you're about to get.
There are, I've done the research and I've really never found a way to fully get rid of the shininess of a wig.
I heard like you can put it in like laundry detergent. but
Yeah.
I've never tried that.
Sarah Spaceman, she has a really great, like it's a really good video. She, you know, tested all these different ways people claim to get like the shininess out of a wig. And fabric softener is like the big thing everyone always pushes. She might have just not left it in there long enough. She said it didn't really work. I've personally never done it. I did try apple cider vinegar one time. Someone said that worked. It did not. It just made my wig smell really, really bad.
If you're gonna use fabric softeners or detergents like that, I've done it in the past. You have to let it sit for a really long time, and you kind of have to go through like a wash, a rinse, a wash, a rinse, kind of thing. And sometimes if it's a big or thicker wig, you want to let it sit overnight.
Yeah. Also, if you do heavily style a wig, it will not be washable. Like,
Yeah, I can't wash this. It would probably fall
A
apart.
little bit of Febreze.
yeah, like something like Helen's, you could maybe wash it because it's just a lot of it's just curl. But something that has a lot of structure or big 3D shapes, you really can't wash because it's just not washable. So you can do I don't know what it's called, the poor man's method of like washing stuff. You can put like it's like diluted vodka, and you like put it in a spray bottle. And
Everclear.
yeah, a lot of people use this to like clean their costumes that like aren't really washable, or just to like refresh them every once in a while. So you can do that, like spray down your wig, like spray the inside because you get really sweaty and everything cons.
I would say that for Febreze if you're not allergic.
Oh yeah, Febreze. But if you are able to wash your wig, just like filling up a bathtub, and then like just a little bit of like shampoo. I don't know about Dawn dish soap. I've only washed a wig like one time. I think I'd say like Dawn dish soap, shampoo, and then just really making sure you're washing it, like you're rinsing it out really, really good, just getting all of that soap out. But yeah.
We haven't touched on cutting wigs.
Yeah.
That is the one thing we've not touched on yet.
Okay, do you want to go into this because you have like the.
To be fair, I just kind of wing it and it turns out okay. I'm not a hairstylist. But I just get my scissors and all my tools from Amazon. Sometimes wig companies, like if you buy a certain amount of stuff, like Arta just sent me like a bunch of stuff once that came with like a wig, because I spent so much, I don't remember. I just know I got some tools from there. Honestly, Walmart has a lot of useful things. Like they have clips, they have
Beauty
scissors.
supply stores.
Yeah, I don't really use anything fancy at all.
Something I would recommend that I have yet to invest in is thinning shears. They look like
Arta
they're
did send me the things.
they look like scissors, but they have almost like individual, like I don't know how you describe it.
They're like
Looks
razor.
combs
Yeah,
put together.
it's like little razor combs.
Yeah, they look like scissors. So you do that and you like go through, and a lot of people use this like when they're making like spikes. You'll go through like kind of like the end of the wig, and you'll like do that to thin it out as it gets to the bottom, just so that you're not having like a really thick piece of wig. Instead, it's like thick at the top, and then it gets thinner, and then you can kind of like make it into the shape better.
Another way you can do that without thinning shears is if you take your scissors and just kind of like do this. You gotta go up and down really fast and kind of do like little micro cuts.
Yeah, and also a lot of that is just whenever you cut something, you're not just getting a blunt cut. And then also, if you do get a blunt cut, you can always cut vertically, and a lot of people do that when they're cutting bangs. You can cut vertically, and it will kind of, you can cut vertically, and it will kind of like make it, I don't know, just looks blunt, straight across.
More natural
But
looking.
it's artificial.
Yeah.
Gives it more of an organic look than something like off a conveyor belt.
Also, make sure you're putting a wig on your physical head before you cut it. And you're figuring out the length you want to cut the wig based off your actual head and not just based off a wig head. Really, would you like to go into that with your bang story?
Oh yeah, so yesterday I cosplayed Tommy from Genji Ito, and the wig that I had wanted to use was an Arta wig that I already had, and I messed the bangs up, so then I had to buy a new wig from Amazon. So
Wigs too short.
yeah, I cut the bangs too short.
Did you give yourself baby bangs?
Yeah,
Did
but
anyone
it's
remember
okay.
that trend for like 2016 where people would cut their bangs to like right here? Like I heard them called baby bangs.
Oh. Baby bangs is a good name.
Okay, baby bangs is what I was told. They're like this.
Yeah, so on the second wig, I didn't want to mess it up again. So instead I cut the bangs with the wig like actually on my head, which helps. Just be careful if you do that because you will get like wig fibers all over your face. But it was more accurate than me trying to just wing it on the wig head.
Yeah. Okay, so that's cutting a wig. Any other questions?
Have you ever dyed a wig like the one?
Okay, that's a good one. Again, wigs are synthetic. I've personally never dyed a wig before.
I was going to dye a wig, but then con crunching hit and
good.
destroyed it.
But how you do dye a wig, you're going to buy yourself a pot. You're going to want to use this pot for nothing else. You're never ever going to cook in this pot, ever. This is just a dye pot. And this is the same thing for dyeing fabric. So since wigs are made out of synthetic fibers, you need to buy a specific synthetic dye. A lot of people use Rit dye. That is what I would recommend. You can buy it at literally any craft store. And then you're just gonna like dip the wig into
Follow
the
the
water.
instructions on the bottle of how to prepare the dye.
If you're wanting to like dye the whole wig, just stick the wig down in there for however much time you think is right. If you're wanting to like just do the tips of it, you're gonna kind of want to like dip it in there. Maybe just let the tips sit in it. But that's how you would dye a wig. That's a good one.
What do you, if it's a darker wig, do you have to bleach it?
You can't bleach synthetic. No way.
I think-
if it's a dark wig and you just want like some color on it, I know some people use like paint on their wigs.
yeah.
So you could try to use paint. There's probably a specific way to like thin out acrylic paint. Because I mean, if you
Just
put
adding
acrylic paint on a wig, it's gonna look probably crunchy.
Yeah, I've seen people, I wouldn't recommend this, I have seen it done before. I've seen people I really would not recommend this, but people have done it. You can spray paint and then take a comb and when the paint is wet, like comb the wigs. I don't recommend that at all, but you can. If you just want like a little detail, if you just want like a little detail, like there was a person yesterday who had a wig that it was like just like black tips. they took hairspray and they sprayed the hairspray. When the hairspray was wet, they put like eyeshadow on it. So there's that too. You can use an airbrush. People's airbrushes are just really expensive, so
Yeah, a lot of really good wig stylers will use an airbrush kit just to get like really precise details, but
like highlights
yeah,
and stuff like that.
airbrushes are expensive.
Yeah. So that's probably why people opted for spray paint.
I got it wigs a lot. First off, yeah, don't use that hot for anything else.
Yeah.
With ombre, you can just like dip it, but like it's not how people would actually bleach your own hair. You have to like check 15 minutes or so.
Yeah.
You need to be constantly watching it.
Yeah.
Also add a little bit of soap to the pot while it's bubbling, and also keep it on. Don't bleed. It's like any moment you bubble up color, and then
Yeah.
you can't bleed. You see that with the Rick dye has like a red cheddar color, so you can give you like rusty instead of bleach.
Yeah.
With another, I've seen people with dyeing all of it or just a little bit, is using like the blue touch-up, but also if they need like a specific color for a wig, you get a white wig, and then you can like have, it's like pick it up, like the scalp part and all that, and then the other one and another pot, like, and do not buy used pots from like Goodwill or anything. Just get like a dollar store if you can, because rust can transfer. It happened to me once. It was disgusting. Just be careful and don't get it too hot. It's going to literally melt.
Okay. I think we have like a couple minutes left. So if anyone has any other questions.
Wig related or not wig related?
I do want to know, how do you guys lace fronts? Because I've been having issues with them. Like,
How to put on a wig or lace front?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I guess I did have that.
I've only ever used one lace front, and it was I would say I bought an Amazon lace front. I personally wouldn't recommend that because like the lace like was I have a very light skin tone, and so the lace was like a lot darker. I probably should have. You can bleach lace. I probably should have bleached it beforehand. I didn't. So it was really hard to like get it to blend in with my forehead.
I got mine was from Arda for Raven from Teen Titans. What I did, this was a long time ago when I like cut everything, but I put the wig on with the lace still there, and then I like cut as close to the hairline as I could. And then after that, I connected it with just spirit gum, or you can also use Got to Be gel on it. I think that's actually what I used to connect it. And then if you want like it to blend in better after you do your foundation and everything, I recommend taking like eyeshadow and whatever color the wig is and kind of just dusting it around the hairline just so it like blends.
Yeah,
a bit easier.
any beauty supply store you go to will have like lace front glue. There's a million tutorials of people using lace front glue, how to apply and put on a lace front. But yeah, you can use me personally, you can even use the Got to Be hairspray and put the lace front on your head and then spray the lace down and then cut it. I've done that before. So I would say get a lace front. I would say buy all your wigs from Arda if you can't afford it. If you can't afford it, buy off Amazon. Just make sure you know what you're buying.
There's also Epic Cosmetics.
Oh, yeah, there's a lot of them.
I've never got one from there, but I heard they're good as well. I
Yeah.
think they might be like a little bit cheaper than Arda, but
They have good like specific character options. So does Arda. But I know a lot of people buy like Rapunzel wigs from Epic Cosplay Wigs because they have really good. I know a lot of people buy Jinx wigs from there too. There's a lot of different sellers.
Oh, I also just realized we never told you the characters of the wigs we have up here.
Oh. Yeah.
About to say, so mine's Persephone from Lore Olympus, and then
This
Cynthia's
is like a half-done peach wig.
So
yeah.
I realized like that might give you some context of what we're going for the styles.
I guess so.
Mine's from Danganronpa, Ibuki Miyoda.
Right.
Okay. Well, I think this only goes to 1:15. So I think that's all the time we have, but we'll be at the booth over there. It has the pink tablecloth and the giant Barbie costume.
We also have another panel later
Yeah, we
today.
have a panel later today about like cosplay basics. So it's gonna go over like sewing basics, armor basics. We'll probably retouch on some wig basics. We can probably it's mainly the first like the first 30 minutes we go over sewing and armor, and then the last little bit is mainly just if you have any questions about anything cosplay related, wigs, body paint, makeup, anything like that, you can ask.
Or if you want to hear about our experiences
Yeah.
or stuff like that, we'll gladly share them with you.
Yeah. Yeah,
Horror stories, funny
yeah,
stories.
That's at 3:30, so please come by. And if you have any questions in general, if you can't make it to the panel, we'll be at the booth. So we'll be there like literally all day. So if you have any questions, if you want to have like an hour-long conversation about your favorite TV show, come by, say hi. I also have cards up here for my social media if you would like to go grab a card. So thank you all so much for coming.
Yeah, thanks guys.